Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's let's see, November 6th, I think. And as you can see, we've made some progress, and I didn't do any filming of pulling the front end, pulling the engine, simply because I've done it twice on my channel now, both with the H and with the M. So if you want to see how these come apart, you can always watch the H or M rebuild videos. But essentially what I did, well, let's back up. Before I separated any of this, as you know, we did some troubleshooting. We looked at the valves, reset them, did a compression test. Compression test was not good. And then we also looked at the play in this pump. We had about 1/4 to probably 3/8 of a turn, or 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch of movement in this pump. So this is straight up. We got a good 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch of rotation here. So that tells me there's something wrong inside this timing cover. It's either that or there's something wrong with this pump. Either a keyway is sheared, or there's a gear that's missing teeth, or it'd have to be missing a lot of teeth, but there's something going on in here. Another problem that we've got, this is the power steering pump pulley. Instead of, I don't know, using an aftermarket system that is, you know, a 2-piece pulley that's open in the middle, they decided to weld this pulley to the crankshaft pulley, which means we have to cut the welds to get the pulley off so that we can get the nut off on the crankshaft pulley. So there's that. The third thing that we noticed is the number 1 cylinder. I don't know if you guys can see it. I'll try to, I don't think you'll be able to see it, but there's a crack here, and it goes down and travels around and comes back up across here. So this top ring that seats down in the block is cracked and is about to come out on this side. Now, that wouldn't be a problem. Well, I shouldn't say that. It is a problem because we don't know if this crack is going to continue to travel around, and if this crack continues to travel all the way around this ring, that sleeve could separate from itself, and then it could slide up and down the cylinder with the piston. And you know, if it slides down, obviously that's a bad thing, because that's where all your rotating assembly is, and it would be one large bang. So that's the third issue that we found. If you see these two parts on the floor, this is the clutch throw bearing carrier yoke, and this is a nose cone off of a starter. Now, as you can see, this starter has the nose cone intact. So when I was trying to pull this apart, you should be able to separate the engine from the transmission without dropping the pump, without pulling the clutch shaft, all of that. I could not get it apart, so I pulled the pump down after I drained it, and I found that this yoke was broken, and this nose cone was jammed in between the flywheel and the bell housing up here, so it wouldn't allow it to come out of the bell housing. Now I don't know if this broken nose cone has anything to do with this clutch yoke being broke, but either way, they're broke. Now this you probably won't be able to see a whole lot of because it's dark, but this thing is so caked on the inside. I mean, there's probably at least an inch of grease and oil and dirt in the bottom section of this. So we definitely had probably a bad rear main seal, and more than likely both seals, the input shaft seal and the counter shaft seal, are probably both bad. And my guess is the seal on the belly pump drive on the back of the pump is probably bad too. So that's another thing that we found. So needless to say, we found quite a bit of issues already with this, and it's we'll get it going, but it's definitely more than we anticipated in doing. I was not anticipating, pulling the sleeves and essentially a full engine teardown, reseal, inspect everything. Probably gonna have to do sleeves, pistons, rings, maybe rod and main bearings depending on what they look like. We don't know what the timing gears look like and everything in there. We might have to replace a gear, or hopefully not the pump or anything like that, or the camshaft, but we just don't know. So a lot of work ahead of us, but at least the engine is on the stand. We found those broken pieces in the clutch housing, and this thing is dirty, dirty, dirty. I mean, it's a farm tractor. It's been outside probably most, if not all, of its life, and it's dirty. I wish we could have had the opportunity to soak this thing down in oven cleaner and let it sit in the sun for a couple hours and pressure wash the heck out of it, but I don't have a pressure washer, and we just didn't have the opportunity. So what we'll do when we get the engine all broke down is I'll get the main pieces onto a trailer and probably soak it down and bring it to a self-serve car wash, or if I can, maybe I'll go down to my cousin's shop. I don't know if he's got time on a weekend coming up to do anything, kind of like we did with the H stuff, and he's still working on his Peterbilt, and I'm trying to get together with him to get his channel started so we can start putting up a lot of those Peterbilt videos. But anyhow, let's talk about the order of disassembly and what I did with this. Alright, so the first thing that we did was I pulled the head off. You guys know that already. And then instead of, I had to pull the steering shaft in order to pull the head off. And instead of kind of disassembling the front end, pulling the wide front off, pulling the bolster off, and doing all that, I decided to just split the tractor at the frame rails where they bolt to the clutch housing here. So there's 4 bolts here, 4 bolts there, and then there's 2 bolts on the side towards the front that go into the side of the engine. So they would go here on each side. So it's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 bolts, and the whole front end will slide away. So that's what I did. I used my engine hoist. We slid the front end away. That's outside the door here in the driveway. And then I got the hoist mounted up to the engine, and all we had left to pull was the 2 bolts on the back side of the clutch housing up top here, right underneath the fuel tank support. Once that was done, we were able to slide the engine forward, but like I said, that nose cone was hanging everything up inside there, and you never want to force anything. If something's not coming it should just slide apart easily. So if something's not coming, there's a problem inside there, whether your splines are rusted into the clutch or the front end of the drive shaft is rusted into the pilot bearing or something. There's a problem. So that's when I decided to drain and drop the pump. Looked up inside there and found all those broken pieces. As soon as I got those out, slid out no problem. So that's kind of where we're at. So I pulled the front end and frame rails as a unit with the radiator, slid that away, put it outside, rehooked my engine hoist, pulled the engine, got it on the stand, and that's where we are today. So wasn't really a whole lot of mechanical work, I should say, but because of what was going on inside the clutch housing, it was just a lot of extra work. So that's really all there was to it so far. So my next plan of attack is to tear down the engine. So we got to pull the oil pump off, pull the side cover off for the valve tappets, pull the governor off, water pump, and I believe that's a new water pump. Then we'll flip it over, pull the oil pan off. We can start taking off all the bolts for the connecting rods, pull the rods and pistons out, and then we got to figure out the front of it. So we'll have to cut the welds on this pulley, this power steering pump pulley, and go from there. We'll, depending on how we can do in cutting those welds, that'll all depend, whether or not we'll have to replace that front pulley or not. But once that's off, then we can pull the timing cover, slide the camshaft out, get the crankshaft out, and yeah, so a lot of work yet, but we'll get it done. So I do apologize for not filming any of this teardown process, but I pretty much did it while juggling having my 2-year-old with me. So have to do things very safely. You should always do things safely, but I don't recommend anybody do anything the way I do it, but it works for me. So had to do things really safely, and kind of there was a lot of back and forth between playing with my daughter and keeping an eye on her while I try to turn a little bit of wrenches here and there. So I apologize if I'm stumbling over my words. I'm pretty tired. It's been a long day. So anyways, that's what I've got so far on the Super M. We haven't really torn anything down, so to speak. We just got it all separated and it's ready for teardown and inspection. So that's where we're at, and a lot of grease and dirt buildup. I mean, there's going to be a lot of scraping before we can even pressure wash and get this thing cleaned up. So anyway, that's all I've got. Thanks for watching, guys. It's late. I'm going to bed, and I'm going to cut this video up, edit it, and then I'm going to bed. That way you guys got something to watch for the weekend here. So take care, guys, and we'll see you in the next one.